The mindset of an ex-athlete is different. You put them on an erg or a cardio machine, you always have to slow them down. They don't know how to stop, which is a good thing to have, but when they're not moving as well as what they used to be, I think everybody kind of thinks they've got a special injury. So like they can't be fixed. This is what happens to me and no one else has it.
Do you think most things is fixable?
Yeah, 100%. There's building blocks to it. There's mobility, stability, and then there's strength. You want to see that everything is able to move right. And then you need to see if it's actually stabilizing and it's active. So everything can actually switch on to hold the position. And then it's the strengthening after it. You have to kind of do that in that order because you can stretch the hell out of it and you'll get super mobile. But if you can't hold the position, then there's no point really, is there? It's the first thing they say. Oh yeah, I've got a sore leg. Oh, just go stretch it. Yeah, you'll be fine, just stretch it. And then you're like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, right.
Most injuries are from overstretching something and they've tightened up for a reason. It's usually from weakness from some other point that you need to strengthen. We strengthen that and then we come back to it. And it's usually just all those little stabilizing muscles that people don't really think of. In the rugby, we didn't train that. It was how much your bench was, yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Inner Fight Podcast. I hope you have had a fantastic week. My guest today is Jerome Harimate, a former rugby player from New Zealand who is now, some of you may know him, a performance coach and personal trainer here at Inner Fight. Jerome has a pretty unique perspective, having experienced both the highs of low and lows of a sporting career in amateur and also in professional sport. During the show, he reflects on the balance between natural talent, which this is a big debate these days, natural talent, hard work, and the importance of the environment that we're in that helps us with performance. We dive into all different things, but we spend a lot of time in the world of professional sport talking about how athletes perform both on the field and then how they go back into the world and live as we all are, I guess you could say, normal human beings. We touch on a number of the challenges that people face, lifestyles, and also the impact that sport can have on athletes later in life. So it's not just for those that are into professional sport or have played professional sport. This actually affects pretty much everybody. It's Jerome's journey, but it's also unique insights or maybe refreshing thoughts around the role of sport, what we can learn from professional sport, and what sport does to amateurs like me and you. This is episode number 942 of the Inner Fight Podcast. No matter where you are in the world, thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's jump into today's show. Jerome, let's kick it off. What is the difference between people that make it as a pro athlete and those guys that should have made it and don't?
I think you've got two different kind of athletes. Like you've got people that are actually gifted, and then you've got the people that actually work really hard to get it. So in my history of me, I was kind of like the person that was kind of had everything skill-wise, everything when it came to the technical side, but when it came to, it's funny being a PT now and a coach now, I was more the other side. I didn't really work hard. I didn't really want it. So I wasn't the one doing the extra, miles in the weekend. I wasn't the one doing the extra sprints or the extra mobility work. But I did watch people surpass me who weren't as gifted, but they just did everything to make sure that they were fitter than me. Not stronger. I always had that on the bus. Didn't mind the bench press or anything like that. But they're just always literally, you watch them on all the cardios. Sometimes they'd lap me and I'd be going, oh. And I wouldn't actually care. I didn't even realise because I was so young when it comes to that. But that's kind of my point of view of it. There's people that are gifted and they've just got everything going for them and they don't work hard. And then you got the people that work hard and they surpass them. But they don't realise too, some of these people, even the people that work hard, what actually working hard is until you actually meet a pro athlete, and they go, what was your schedule? What were you doing? Well, when I was 15, I was doing this every day. I went gym every day, 3 times a week, had a sprint session on Friday, had recovery on Sunday. I was looking at my video on Monday, talking to my coach, asking for feedback. I had a nutrition guy telling me how to gain weight. Like, yeah, all those things. And you're thinking, what was I doing?
Playing a game and chasing chicks.
Yeah, you're going to get a meat pie from the dairy and see if the chocolate milk's still there available. But yeah, it's a massive difference between people that I know that have made it and people that didn't. There are obviously those freakish talented people, and the sport I'm talking about is rugby, obviously, because I come from a rugby background. But there are those freakish talented people. Like, you get some people straight out of Fiji, and you just know you're going to sign them straight away. And those guys, they never walked into a gym. You get them to run 2K, they'll literally walk the whole thing. They're not going to do it. But if you wanted them to score you 5 tries that game, they'll do it because they're just freakish, yeah?
It's interesting you said that, mate, and obviously you're from New Zealand, you're from a rugby background, and I think last year Dan Carter's documentary was released.
Yeah.
And that it gave a real good insight into his upbringing. And it made me think a lot on this sort of question and this topic. He was talented, but he also worked super hard.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I mean, that documentary and his book paint him in a certain way. I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to sell it, right? So it sort of paints it they're trying to sell him as a personality. But someone like Dan Carter, is it an equal amount of talent and hard work? Or what do you think it is?
The funny thing is, because I know his background and the school he went to and Christchurch, the Crusaders camps and stuff like that, I remember going to the same camps when I was younger, and they got specific rules around everything. So as in, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're already 10 minutes late. They have things like that ingrain it in your system. And Dan Carter went to a really good rugby school, which was Christchurch Rugby Boys, Christchurch High, sorry. And they were kind of on a roll with just producing the best first fives in the world. Like, you had Steve Brett, Colin Slade, him, Tyler Blindale. They just had a year after year of just having these unreal first fives. So he come from the pedigree of just having great coaches, everything around him as well. Okay, of course he worked hard.
Yeah.
But when you have those systems around you and you go down there to Christchurch and you get involved with all that stuff, it's just the next level of professional, because I've been to most of the camps around New Zealand, and Canterbury Crusaders are just the ones that kind of ingrain. Even when you're a 15-year-old, you walk in there and you're an adult, you're going to get treated like an adult here, and you got to do adult things, like you got to look after yourself. You're 15-year-old, your mum's packing your bag usually, making sure your lunch is all good. You've got to look after yourself, put your own undies on today, you got to come to training and get into it. That's the thing with that. So with Dan Carter, I think he worked really hard, but he also had a lot of good supporting things around him, which not everybody had, I reckon.
See, I agree 100%, mate. And that's why I think the argument is often talent versus hard work.
Yeah.
But you've just brought in what I actually think is the third. It's not the third in importance, but it's the third one of 3 most important things, which is environment.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But everyone, the argument is constantly talent, hard work. But you said it there. The setup that those guys have is incredible.
Yeah.
It's next level. And there are to a lot of people, it might be too many rules, but those rules create the environment and they reduce chaos, which brings focus. So environment has to be so then if we bring that in, what is it? Is it split evenly? Is it 33% environment, 33% talent, 33% hard work?
Well, it's mentors, isn't it? As in the players that were before you, they show you how it's done, and then you just learn a little bit better. And if you're really good, you'll go and ask another mentor. You'll go and get another person. That's the environment you kind of create. The people that I see that are really successful stuff. They learnt it from someone that's already been good at it. And the Crusaders, they were hot already with all these good coaches and everything around him. So like he's just learning, and it's kind of free information, to be honest with you, because he's had a good time. Plus like a good era as well, obviously, with New Zealand rugby being so high at a time when they weren't actually losing anything. So environment is a thing that you need to be put in, but there are players that weren't in environments. You got Richard McCaw, who was bloody down in Kurau, which is a bit of the back of nowhere, so behind a mountain where nobody knows. So like, you know, you get
it's case by case.
It's case by case, yeah. There's talent, like he was talented and he had people around him. That's why he was one of the best players. But then again, you've got other players that were great and they didn't even have any of that. So
the All Blacks have always been super famous, and we read about it more in James Clear's book Legacy, about sort of these 7 rules that they live by. And he said that that's what has made them the best sports team in the world. Unfortunately, as you well know, mate, the last few years of New Zealand rugby hasn't been quite so good.
Yeah.
They're still using the same recipe, and a recipe that's made them the most successful sports team literally of all time, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that starts to make things go wrong? Like, what if, because they're doing the same things, mate. They've got the mentors in place. They've got the 10-minute rule. They've got all of that.
The thing is, this becoming like kind of diminished in New Zealand rugby is it being so popular. It's not as popular as it used to be because of injuries, head knocks, money. You can't really earn that much money as a rugby player anymore in New Zealand. We've got all of our best players leaving 10 years before their prime, like as in you got Richie Mo'unga taken off to Japan, you got all the other people, Charles Piotel just took off out of nowhere, Stephen Luatua, but they're all just getting money overseas, so it kind of weakens the comp. Not kind of, it weakens the comp.
Yeah.
You don't have all these good players. They're the mentors.
Right.
So they're their environment. So they're the ones taking off. The ones that Dan Carter had around, all these old heads around him, they weren't all taken off overseas. He was learning from them. Now all these other young guys coming through, and they don't have the same access because they've all taken off. They're all getting payday, which is what they deserve.
So money's the factor, huh?
Yeah, I reckon it's a big factor in New Zealand because they're losing a lot of money. So it looks like it anyway.
It's super interesting because rugby in the Northern Hemisphere, definitely in the UK, is pretty dull to watch.
Yeah.
Southern Hemisphere rugby doesn't get the crowds that it used to, and it's not... Is it interesting? I don't know. I mean, it's been tough even who knew that New Zealand, the New Zealand Warriors rugby league team would get... get more fans to the game than a rugby union game.
It's pure
and that's all money, right?
Yeah, it's money, it's marketing. I can't really actually put a finger on that one. Success as well, I guess. Warriors actually doing
one of the things that you said there, which let's not make the whole show about rugby, but it is interesting, isn't it? The rules in rugby union with head knocks, which is probably the right thing.
Yeah.
Have made the game, league is just so much more interesting to watch than union these days.
Rugby's too complicated. The rules have changed to the degree where it's becoming, even me playing last year, playing club rugby for the year, you become like, what's actually going on?
Really?
Yeah, because you're not allowed to hit. Like sometimes the refs kind of decide the games now because they decide what the contact's like. If you hit them too hard, you end up going, that might have been a bit high, penalty, and it decides the games because it just decides everything. You're on the back foot, so
it's tough, huh?
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Let's move on from rugby and let's look back generally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of maybe not listening to our show, but there's a lot of parents listening to our show who have kids. We've just gone through in summer the Olympics, and that inspires a lot of people. Like, I thought it was great. I don't know how much you watched this year, but I love watching the Olympics. It's awesome. And you get a lot of kids that are like, I want to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
That's the goal. What do you see as sort of, what do we do with those kids, mate? Because, I mean, you're a father, okay, your daughter's young, but there's going to come an age where your daughter's like, Daddy, I want to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
What's the route?
So I've actually got friends that are track athletes, and they're doing exactly like that. It's a hard journey. If people don't know, those athletes don't get paid too well or paid at all.
A lot of them,
most of them do it for free. So they rely on sponsors heavily. So if you're not good and you're not that Usain Bolt coming out the gate, or, you know, the people that are just the face of being Olympics, you're not actually going to be earning too much money. Even some of those side Olympic sports where you're kind of going like, you know, if the breakdancer, if they win the gold, they're not going to earn no money from that. You know, like these people that train their whole life for their event, but they're probably not going to get that much out of it on the side of money. But when it comes to fame and some, you know, having a kid going, yeah, I want to be like him, you will get that. But I have a daughter, obviously. If I said to her, just go down the track athlete route, it'd be to play another sport.
Yeah.
No offense to the Olympic sports, but like it'd be probably to get her better coordinated to become a better at something else, which actually that's what track sport I think gives you. It gives you better mechanics when it comes to moving into any other kind of sport, especially when it comes to sprinting or anything like that.
I often think that to be a good track and field athlete is brutal. Like that's the hardest.
Yeah.
Because it's not so one-dimensional, but it's quite one-dimensional.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it, like you say, we can use track and field, we can use throwing, jumping, and there's a great carryover into netball or rugby or all of these sports. But just like your goal in life is 100 meters.
Under 12 seconds of your life just to reach that, 11 seconds. Yeah. And like, honestly, I watch my friends on Instagram and they train like crazy. Some of them crazy lifts, crazy everything. And they're literally just training for that chance to go to the Olympics. But you're first in New Zealand, you got to make Commonwealth Games. And then you've got to do all these little little sprints they have to do over in Australia, over in South Africa, all those kind of things. And literally, if they don't get their time, so say one of my friends has to get 10.9 or 11.2 or something, I think it is.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't get that time, it didn't mean anything. He's gone the plane back home. Basically, all of his training for that year is gone. It's crazy, yeah. So if you really want to be one of those track athletes, in my mind, you need to go in with the mind, I am the top 5%. I am going to be podium. Like, as in, I wouldn't go there just to compete unless it's for your country and they're not really used to having people there, maybe. But if you're not actually going to compete for that top 3 spot, it's a pretty hard life, I reckon.
It is, mate. One of the things you said, which is quite interesting, is money. A lot of the Olympic sports, it's not like you're getting paid to be at the Olympics directly. Yes, there's sponsors, and a lot of the way that we see the world now is quite money orientated. I remember when I first got my first contract, it was like £30 a game or something plus 20p petrol money, and I was like,
those are the good times.
I mean, I was like,
I look back on those times, go, man, I wish I still got that
£30 a game, to 150 dirhams now a game for absolutely getting your head smashed in. But it wasn't. I guess that's where the difference is, isn't it? That was just like, okay, that's great. I can, I've got £30 extra this week. If I get on, I can buy a couple of extra groceries or whatever. The professional era hadn't really begun, but what we've gone through in the last, since 2000 is quite a professional era where, like you said, there's no money in it. So then what? Whereas previously it'd be like, I know there's no money in it, but
I'll do it for the love.
I'll do it. Yeah. So my question is, where do you see that, mate? The love and the money, and how do we put these two together when it comes to youngsters in sport or adolescents, because they're teenagers, really, aren't they?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just knowing that they have a passion for it. Like, as in, if my daughter picked up, a football or any kind of sport, gymnastics, anything. She's currently doing ballet. She loves it. Like, it's the passion and happiness more when you're younger. When they get a little bit older into their teens, that's when you probably need to guide them more. That's kind of where my parents kind of went with me, like, pick a sport, you can't do them all. And then I was like, well, I want to do this in winter, I want to do this thing. And they're like, we're not made out of money, so pick a sport, do that one. But, like, you kind of need to guide them to where they're passionate about, and then decide. It's a ruthless thing. Some people don't really, like, come to grips with it. Is my kid actually good enough to be a pro? Like, it's sometimes being a little bit more realistic. Because I think some people's parents kind of hold on a little bit and go, no, they'll make it. But when is kind of the cut-off point where you go, maybe this guy should probably get a real job?
Or approach it differently. I was actually just thinking,
where's that cut-off point?
It's hard, huh?
Yeah.
But I think, and as I say, your daughter's still young, so we've got all of this to come for you, mate. But you probably, even now, you want to give her every single chance that you can
100%.
for her to, especially if she loves something. You said, like, she's got to enjoy it, she's got to be passionate about it. But you would love, 2032, no, she won't make that. So 2036 Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
as a parent, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. When you're like, if you had a kid, obviously you want to try to live through them a little bit. Nah, joking.
But you do.
You do, yeah.
You do, mate. That's what we see a lot, right?
Oh, 100%. You see some people take it too far. But, like, with my daughter, obviously, the idea of coming to Dubai was pretty much, New Zealand's a very dominant sport culture. It's sport first.
Yeah.
Like, really sport first. The idea was to come to Dubai was kind of go the other way, more education first.
Right.
So if the sport, she becomes good at it and she's passionate about it, I'll put her in everything and just see what she likes. I've already put her down in the rugby field.
Yeah.
Didn't really grab, maybe a bit young, but we just need to just literally chuck them in everything and just see what they're like. You look at them and go, oh yeah, she's got a smile on her face, she's happy. Sometimes, like I said, like you said before, with the environment, sometimes it's actually the environment. Yeah. If they have a good environment around them, they're going to have fun anywhere they go, doing whatever they want to. Yeah.
True.
So it is kind of a little bit of that too. You got to find the place where your kid kind of fits in a little bit.
We'll do a show in 15 years and we'll see where we've got to.
Yeah, 100%.
We both have a few more
living for
grey hairs. But if we fast forward to that, mate, we're sort of at the start. Let's go a little bit to the end of professional sports people's careers, or those that haven't made it.
Yeah.
That's quite a challenging time as well, because those that haven't made it, if we stick with those guys first, and like your mate, 12-3, not good enough, get out.
Yeah.
How do you see people transitioning into life and just becoming someone in a CrossFit class, for example?
Terribly, to be honest with you. It's usually, that fighting two kind of people, because you still want to play, obviously, even if it's just like an amateur level, but you get kind of lost. I remember when I kind of gave up on rugby and I came to realization that it's not going to happen, but you end up thinking, well, what do I do now? And you had all those people that were doing things knowing what they were going to do. They're doing that, and you're there at starting where like they're already in the middle, so you're there going, oh man, I better do something now. But you got a lot of people that go out there, especially from New Zealand, and it's kind of being pushed on them a little bit harder now that they kind of put all their, they pushed all their cards in. all their chips and just went, oh yeah, rugby, or this is sport I'm going to play. I don't care if I don't make it and all that. But then when it happens and they don't make it, they will just go, oh, okay, and panic. And then they become another CrossFit person, And yeah, it's just, it's hard to really say, because all these retired people, it depends on how successful you were, in my eyes. If you didn't make it and you put all your chips in on that, you're going to have a hard time. Yeah. If you had something backing you up, you went for a degree or a little bit of something on the side where you kind of worked on yourself, then you're going to be all right. Yeah. It's, again, I go back to the environment again. If you've got good people around you, good support, then you're going to be all right, always. So if you've got people picking you up, you don't want that, but if you've got people around you supporting you, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think a lot of it's awareness, like you said, mate, and admitting I tried, gave it my all. Yes, it was my life. And that could be anything. It could be amateur rugby. It could be professional sprinter. It could be all these things. But I gave it everything. Yeah. And now it's time to... It's just the acceptance, isn't it? Now it's time to... The next chapter begins.
Yeah, I don't want to, obviously direct this at any of my friends or anything, but it's kind of, I'm kind of keen to see where that cutoff point is with some people, where you go, maybe I need to take my life a little bit more serious now and move on from my sport and actually try to do something. Again, that's not aimed at anybody.
But it becomes quite a big part of who you are and your identity.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's your friendship. I remember when I stopped playing rugby and I knew it was coming because I'd drive home from training and...
Just wasn't keen about it.
I wasn't keen, mate. Yeah. And then I'd be trying to create that awareness and ask myself, like, okay, well, why are you going? And I came back with ridiculous arguments with myself of saying, well, if I wasn't going, what would I be doing? And then what... Because since I remember... Tuesday nights and Thursday nights or Sunday nights and Wednesday nights is rugby training.
Yeah.
So it's your identity. And on Saturday you play rugby, and anyone who knows rugby, certain things happen after the game on a Saturday as well. And that's kind of your weekend. And we played on, there's a social side to it. And we played on Wednesdays as well. And that was our identity as well. And suddenly you're not much over 30 and you're facing almost an identity crisis. Jerome, the rugby player, Marcus, the rugby player, is no longer.
Yeah.
But you're only keeping on going because you've done that. Yeah. You're a creature of habit, which is, it's a weird feeling. You've probably been through something similar as well, mate. It's like...
It's me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, the other thing is you just don't get anything like... When it comes to sport, CrossFit... and all that, you get the thrill of having that gas feeling, and I love the feeling when you've done like a serious workout and you feel like you I know people don't really like that feeling, but I feel that choking gas, real gas feeling. I love getting to that point. There's one thing in rugby that you don't get in real life, and that's contact. That's hit. Yeah. You don't get that anywhere else. And like, it's kind of like a release a little bit in a way where you actually got two full grown men just running full tilt at each other, and then just literally who's going to come out the best. Like, I know it's not for everybody, that kind of stuff, but when you're
listening, go, what is wrong with this guy?
That's it. But I'm one of those people who are just like, I love the physical side of sports and that's why I'm so into MMA fighting and boxing and stuff like that. I just love the contact, and I miss it so much when it comes to it. And I'm pretty shy at boxing, I'm pretty shy at MMA. So I found the middle ground with rugby.
Mate, one thing that you will have seen, and I know you're working on with some people and you're quite passionate about, is when people's sporting careers are ending, or even if they haven't had a sports career, they're just been a little bit inactive, they get to the age of 30, 35, and their bodies are not moving in the way that they should. They're probably moving badly, probably with a little bit of pain. And that also drives down motivation. Like, it's not fun waking up feeling beaten up every single day.
Yeah.
How do you coach people through that? How do you help people? How much of it is like psychological and you talking to people versus actually, you know, I know you're just super keen. You've fixed a lot of people here, squat wise, mechanics wise, and that kind of stuff. But talk us through how you see that side of things.
Well, it's kind of hard for athletes and people that have like lived their whole life doing their training program. What they usually do is they come into the gym, they'll have free personal trainers or whatever, they'll write that on the board, and then they'll end up just doing what's on that board. But when you're a bit older and you're retired, you do that stuff on the board, you'll kill yourself because everything doesn't move the same, everything's a bit tighter, mobility is not the same, and your structure with stability is not the same as well. So everything's going to move different. So the basic patterns of just doing body weight movements are not the same. When you used to be able to do like even a parallel squat, you probably find it hard to do a quarter squat, some people, yeah? My knees are creaky, everything's buckling in. Overhead, I can't remember the last time I reached up to the top cupboard because I can't actually put my arm up. Like it's a common thing, especially with rugby players, like even any contact sports. To be honest with you, I've trained a lot of people through their injuries, squash players, tennis players, you got ankles, knees, just all these little problems because they carry on actually playing until they're a little bit older, but they forget that they don't have the same stabilizers and the same activation that they had when they were younger. So when they're sliding and moving and doing all that kind of stuff, your muscles and joints are not going to handle it the same. So when you train, you've got to actually retrain everything to actually just improve how you move body weight wise. I wouldn't really be thinking too much on like how you used to train, come into the whiteboard. Oh yeah, it's 5x5 bench press today at 80%, like 1 RM or something like that. In English, that would be like going heavy. Yeah. You can't do that anymore. If you did that, your shoulder would burst open. So people just need to come to being a bit more realistic on how they approach their training, especially in the older years, and what actually would actually work for them instead of thinking of how they used to train. If I can do this, I can do that, and then they basically wait until they break again. Yeah.
But it's difficult, mate. The transition is hard, right? Because you want to be the best, and you've played a sport, and like we've been talking about, you're thriving to be the best. So you come into a CrossFit class, you don't want to be the person that, you know, if it says, it's a great example, X amount of your 1 RM bench press. Yeah. You don't want to, and especially because the compound lifts is what we've always used in rugby, especially back in the day.
Oh, 100%.
You know, guys benching 180 kilos and only back squatting 150. You know.
Number one question, how much do you bench?
How much do you bench? Like
150. How much do you squat? 100. Why would you ask me that? But anyway,
So how do you get over that? I'm seeing this on the board and I should always be trying to push and trying to achieve. But like you say, I'm going to pop my shoulder. I can't actually put my arm overhead. From a mindset standpoint, how do we deal with that?
It's actually really hard to do it by yourself, to be honest with you. You need people around you with the right information. You need it. You can't just go out guessing. I think a lot of people go out guessing or go watch a clip from Instagram or YouTube, how to fix this or how to get around this. But you need to be able to move your body well just with your body weight. And if you can't, say do a parallel squat or a quarter squat and it's causing you pain or reach over your head, you probably should be looking into getting someone to make you able to do it or actually investing in that instead of investing maybe into going full tilt into a CrossFit class or something where you probably will get broken. But in the end, we do have these ex-athletes, and it kind of depends. The mindset of an ex-athlete is different. I've trained a lot of them, and you put them on an erg or a cardio machine, you always have to slow them down because they always just like, there's people that don't know how to go full tilt and 100%. But when you're an ex-athlete and you've got them going on an assault bike and you tell them as many reps as possible, they don't know how to stop. Some of them, they just literally, they'll go until they pass out, which is a good thing to have. But when they're not moving as well as what they used to be, it's kind of maybe we need to draw you back in, get you moving well first, and then get you back on that erg.
Yeah.
You need it. Yeah, it's kind of a controlled mindset. To be honest with you, it's for me, it wouldn't be a mindset approach. The mindset would be for me, if I was really broken, look for information for me not to be broken and how to move better.
How do you feel in your body? You say it's a struggle to get something from the top shelf.
Personally?
Yeah. How do you feel in your body?
Well, I've never had any surgeries. I've never had any actual serious injuries.
Because you played in the backs, mate.
They say I don't hit that hard. That's the reason why. But yeah, who knows? I've always kind of been really big on if I feel, and I kind of know my body by now, where the injury's kind of coming, where that overtraining's about to hit. I'm kind of in a little bit of a phase right now.
Okay.
But it's literally just kind of holding it back, bringing back that mobility, and just being stable around the positions. Some people, the first thing that you hear when people get injured is, what do they say to you? Oh, you should just go stretch it. That's the first thing they say. Oh, yeah, I've got a sore leg. Oh, just go stretch it. Yeah, you'll be fine. Just stretch it. And then you're like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, right.
Most injuries are from overstretching something, and they've tightened up for a reason. It's usually from weakness from some other point that you need to strengthen. We strengthen that, and then we come back to it. And it's usually just all those little stabilizing muscles that people don't really think of. We usually, like you said, in the rugby, bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press, they're all big muscle movers, yeah? But what kind of supports the big muscle movers is the stabilizers, yeah? But we never thought of that. We didn't train that. It was how much your bench was, yeah? Or how much can you externally rotate something, yeah? How much can you do all these little muscle movements? You probably go, I can't even hold that position.
Yeah.
It's
very interesting, mate, what you said there, and that might resonate with a lot of people. I want to flip back to it. I've got an injury. I need to stretch more.
Yeah.
Where do you think that actually comes from? Like, why did we get to a point where, because you just explained it so well, that actually you've got the injury because you've overstretched normally a muscle.
Yeah.
And you've overstretched that muscle because you have a weakness somewhere else.
Yeah.
So what we really need to do is not worry too much about the overstretched muscle at the moment. That needs to repair.
Yeah.
We need to go up the chain and make, and it normally is, stabilizing muscle a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
But where do you think it came from? Just go and stretch it. You need to stretch more. I had a client today told me, I need to stretch more.
Yeah. It's funny, yeah. It's quite funny when someone tells you, you're like, oh yeah. I actually
I sent him a video of like a 20-minute flow that actually isn't stretching at all. It's just it's mobility.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't actually know, but you just remember when you were younger. I think the science with everything and with all the information available now, we kind of know that stretching is kind of bad for you now. Yeah. But I don't know where it originally came from, because obviously when your muscle's actually too long, that's when it becomes weak. So there is a point where you need to even it out. I've had people that yoga instructors, and they're the most bendy people that you could ever meet, and they're the most injured people that you'd ever meet too, because everything just moves where it's not supposed to, and they got no control over it.
They have no tension in the
muscles. No tension in their muscles, yeah. So it's kind of building that back up, and then...
That's not every yoga instructor.
That's not every... Yeah. That's not every... There'd be yoga instructors going there. Come on, man.
These two idiots.
I challenge you. I challenge you. Yeah, okay. Touch your toes, yeah. But there's people that are just really hypermobile. We have people that work here that are hypermobile. You're just people that can pretty much dislocate their shoulders whenever they want to, and they don't feel a thing.
Yeah.
So... do those people need to stretch more? No. It's it's going to be the worst thing. People start cranking things into even more painful positions where they're actually already taking a muscle where I can't even get to, and then they try to send it to where nobody can get to. And then they just kind of forget that, actually, this is all these other muscles are holding it together. Maybe if we actually get them working, we can actually get this injury sorted so it stops happening. I think everybody kind of thinks they've got a special injury. So, like, they can't be fixed. This is what happens to me and no one else has it.
Do you think most things that you've seen or that you see as far as how people move is fixable?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just needs time.
In my mind, like, it's just simple, like, the way the body should move. Everybody's got extreme versions of everything. So as in, like, you can move your muscles in different ways that I can't. I'm not going to say I'm the most flexible person ever, but there's always going to be someone that's going to be stronger in something. And then you look at those people and go, that's what I should be doing, trying to max it out to that degree. No, there's just levels that you need to get to be safe. Yeah. Then I think that's what people don't really realize, because if you're not talking about athletes now, you're talking about a normal person. You've just got that basic posture. So as in, most people are like kyphotic these days and just have that rounded back, and then you go and do an overhead lift with a rounded back, what's going to happen to your lower back? Because everything's coming down. Most people can't even get the bar now above their head because their back is so rounded. So you've just got that pandemic of that happening, but people don't really understand that could be mobility and stability at the same time, because now you've become weak in that position, and now you're going to try to get it back into the right position, and then you've got to strengthen it. You know all this, like, as in, that's a hard journey. It's a hard journey for most people.
I think the good thing, and what I've seen, you work with a few clients here at the gym on strengthening positions, on better mobility, let's say, whilst concurrently they're still doing running training, they're still doing strength training. So these two things can happen
100%.
At the same time.
Yeah. You become good at training around it. So there's building blocks to it, like everything. So there's mobility, stability, and then there's strength. So basically, you want to see that everything is being able to move right.
Yes.
And then you need to see if it's actually stabilizing and it's active. So everything can actually switch on to hold the position. And then it's the strengthening after it. And if you do it in that kind of order, you have to kind of do that in that order, because you can stretch the hell out of it and you'll get super mobile. But if you can't hold the position, then there's no point, really, is there?
Yeah.
So that's what my mindset with it is. And that's how I approach it. I will never do mobility and then just think, you stretch the hell out of it and you don't have some kind of stabilizing drill where it has to learn to actually stay there.
Yes.
Because if you don't learn to keep it there and you're just kind of stretching it and it doesn't ever really get into that motion with some kind of movement, then it's never going to actually reteach itself to stay there. Just keep on flinging back.
Yeah, right.
So that's my mindset around it anyway.
You've pretty much stopped playing rugby now. And in the last year or so, mate, you've obviously done a lot more CrossFit, strength training, fixing yourself. You're still young. You obviously have watched the video version for his eyes there.
That one. Yeah.
What we spoke about it earlier in the show of people that have played sport at a decent level replacing it. How do you feel like? I mean, what are your athletic goals now, mate? What are you trying to achieve?
Basically, when it came down to it, joining a gym like Inner Fight and you've got all these outstanding athletes around you, especially when it comes to CrossFit and endurance sports, it's just literally, my mind went two ways. I just wanted to get good at CrossFit. I just kind of went, I need to get good at the movements, and then I want to get back to lifting heavy weights. But it not be the
bench
squat. I can still actually lift. It's quite heavy on the bench, funny enough.
More than Dan,
and I did zero bench. There you go. There's a program. Just do the CrossFit program and your bench will go up. But I literally just wanted to go, I want to hit this number for my Olympic lifts. I ended up doing it early, so I had to create a new number. But there is a time where I was talking to Simon. Was it Simon yesterday? No, it was Dan. Sorry, I talked to Dan. There's a point in age where you have to realise where you go, where do I cap it? And that's what I mean when you go, when do I stop trying to crack rugby? That's what you have to do with your fitness as well. You can't keep on going, oh yeah, I wanted to hit a 200 kg back squat, and then I go, oh, okay, I did that. I want to hit 220. There's no reason why you can't. Okay, but I'm just saying when it comes to it, is the want to do it? Is there gonna be any reward? What am I gonna get back from doing that?
I think we have to go back to what you said about your daughter.
Yeah.
And you put her into these activities.
Yeah.
Your happiness and satisfaction is the smile on her face.
Yeah.
Like, you're absolutely right, mate. You come to a point where it's like, okay, I've chased the 200 kilo back squat for so long, and I've got it.
I already done it before that, but yeah.
But will 205 make me equally as happy, or whatever that number is? But if I can come to a class 5 days a week, wake up feeling good, like you say, not really have too many issues at all, and be super satisfied with that, then that probably becomes a benchmark.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't really think about it like that, but yeah, it's your goals change. I just told someone the other day too, I think dad bod's a real thing. So you kind of,
a real excuse?
It's not a real excuse. It's a...
Is it because you've made a child that you get a dad bod?
Oh, no, definitely not. It's your attention. It's your attention goes away from yourself and you start putting it all into your child. So you start thinking, oh, do I do an hour and a half session? Like, do I work all those little stabilizers and mobility, and then I go crank out an hour of a decent CrossFit session? Or do I spend that half an hour with my daughter? That's a little bit extra. That's where I think the dad bod comes in. There's people that take it a little bit too far and do the whole, I'm just going to take a year off. But that was kind of my mindset around it when it was coming to it. Do I race home to spend time with my daughter to like help out, or do you train 2 hours longer? That's where that's where the dad bod mindset comes in, I think. I don't think that's the same for everyone.
I think you need to lead a movement of the anti-dad bod.
Anti-dad bod, yeah. Well, there's 3 sessions running a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday morning. There
we go. Very good. Mate, Jerome, that's interesting, mate. Lots of super interesting things to think about, especially, I think there's a lot, and you speak well from a father standpoint as well, especially people that listen to the show that have young children. There's definitely a lot to think about. And then those people that have ailments or wake up feeling not great, they don't have to stop what they're doing, but maybe start doing something to feel, to move a little bit better.
It just doesn't need to be, it doesn't realize your goals.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything extreme. Just get moving, most of them.
And enjoy it, right?
Yeah, get moving and enjoy it. Enjoy the company of the other dads that are going through the same thing.
Jerome, thanks a lot. We'll catch up again in, what did we say, 15 years?
15 years.
Look forward to it, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.